Aloha kako. Welcome to this training. This is one that's meant to help us all understand how to use the specification tracker for language functions. I know that sounds really boring, and it probably is, but I spent a lot of time really trying to make sure that the functions that we have outlined as being important for assessment purposes are being treated as equitably as possible, especially in regards to those that are weighted more heavily as compared to those that are weighted less heavily. So the functions are the most important things that we want our students to be able to accomplish. In other words, they're the objectives that we want them to accomplish. Now, as you'll recall, each level and each topic within the level is divided into two parts: the topical practice and the mastery function. So consider the mastery as essentially the quiz at the end. Now, the topical practice has two parts. In this case, with EC1, the first part is going to be 8 passages that are created at the EC1 level, which is about a novice high to intermediate low on the ACTFL scale. But to try to push our students, we are having them also have 2 passages that are at the advanced stage. So 9A and 10A, these are passages 9 and 10. A stands for advanced. These are 2 advanced passages at the topic practice level that are actually not at the EC1 level, but at the EC2 level, again to try to really push their proficiency level. Over here in the mastery check, the first 6 passages of the quiz, in other words, is going to be at the EC1 level. But the 2 remaining passages, and there's 8 in total, are going to be at the EC2 level, even though this again is all just at the EC1 level. So these are advanced. So you'll see that the functions that we've identified here with these tags, F1 is the tag for gist, F7 is the tag for invitations and messages. You'll see that all of these functions right here are actually different from these functions down here. So you can probably notice that. The reason being is that the functions we're testing at the advanced level, which in this case would be EC2, are different. So we want them to identify main idea, of course, basic requests and offers, express opinions, so on and so forth. Now you'll notice that some of these are bolded and others are not. The bolded ones are the functions that were deemed to be more important than the unbolded ones, or weighted more heavily. So that's the reason why you'll see some that are bold and some that are not bold. And so in order to treat those, we make sure to include, just for simplicity's sake, we made sure to include those that were bolded more often than those that are not bolded. Now the way that this pertains to you, when you create questions for your passage at the EC1 level, you are going to create 4 questions. When you create those questions, you need to tag each one of those questions with F1. Now when you look at an example passage that either Wendy or me, that either one of us have created, you'll see how we've tagged those questions. But before you come to a lesson, you'll see that, for instance, daily life, we need 6 total questions that are assessing gist. We've almost filled that quota right there with 4. Mostly this has been Wendy that has done that. If you look over here, we have invitations and messages. So we need this to be assessed 7 times, and we've done it 1 time. So when you're coming to write a lesson and you see, okay, gist is almost full, but we're lacking in some of these important functions right here, this will help to inform the type of passage that you will create, but also more importantly, the questions that you are going to create. For example, we only have 1 yes/no question, but we need 6 more. So what we might do is when we're creating our assessments, we might say, if our passage is about Mary and Mana, which is one of my passages that I created, did Mary ask Mana to help her study? Yes or no? Anyway, just as simple as that. At the end of that, in brackets, I would include the tag F29. So that lets me know when I'm editing your stuff that you have tagged this properly. And number two, when we are creating the objectives in the learning management system, we can tag these objectives, or these functions in other words, to the items that are meant to assess those functions. And then at the end of the course or a series of courses, we can see how well one student is doing with regards to, for instance, F29 yes/no questions. We can see how all of the students are performing relative to yes/no questions, and that will help inform redevelopments in the curriculum if necessary, or maybe other things that the students are doing well and things that the students are essentially not doing well. So it's really important that we tag these, and this is how this works. So red is color coded for the EC1 level, just for the language functions. Okay, blue is color coded for EC2 level, and you'll see this part in black. Don't worry about that for this topic, daily life. Same with right here, F13. We don't need to worry about that for social communication. And again, this all has to do with trying to be as equitable as possible when treating all of these functions, but also within the constraints that we have for the number of assessment items we can have. So we have 10 assessment items for the EC2 topical practice tasks 9A and 10A, which, as you will recall, are the advanced tasks. So these are actually at the EC3 level. So that's what that black means. So you don't have to worry about those things. Okay. EC3 level is color coded in green, and finally the EC4 level is color coded in red. Now we don't have any advanced questions here because EC4 is the last level, so we're only going to deal with that level. Okay, that concludes that. So make sure before you create your lesson, that first you consult this to let you know what questions that you need to incorporate into your lesson. This will help you have more freedom and also free up me so that I don't have to assign you the different functions that you need to do for the different topics. As you can see, these are our different topics. This creates more flexibility on your part, especially in the early going, and a lot of flexibility on my part, not having to assign all of these things to you. Now, as the quotas get filled, we're going to have to be a little bit more creative, and I should say, this is not hard and fast that we absolutely have to have likes and dislikes 7 times. So obviously, if we can present a case where maybe that doesn't work as well for daily life, we'll address those things as we, we'll cross that bridge as we get there. But this was just a systematic way to ensure that we are in fact treating the most important functions with greater frequency. Okay, mahalo for listening, everyone, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.